Hey, it's Leo. Welcome to my channel. Today I will be doing my August wrap-up. In the month of August, I read 11 books, so I'm very pleased with that. Voting is still open on which of the 2 books on the Mooks and Gripes bucket list book tag video I should read in 2022. I will link that down below as well, both the video and the poll. I also have to tell you a little bit of a funny story about my balcony. I may or may not have said this on my channel before, but I live in the city and my balcony earlier this summer was taken over by 2 pigeons who raised 2 of their babies that hatched and grew up and fledged from my balcony, and it was very sweet. I don't need to be a pigeon grandpa anymore, so now the pigeons have come back and they keep shopping around where they want to set up shop for their next round, maybe? I don't know. So I've been trying to encourage them gently that maybe they can find another balcony to make their family on. I'm not anti-pigeon. I just would like some outdoor space of my own. And while I was out there today, I rearranging things to take away some of the obvious roosting spots. I saw that my blueberry plant had the first berries ever. There were 18 blueberries between my 2 little blueberry plants, so I was very proud of them. They are going to be my dessert and my reward for after this video. I've got them in this little dish here. Maybe I'll have one now. That's a good city balcony blueberry there. With each video on my channel, I lift up a different nonprofit that's doing good in the world. I'll make a donation and I'll encourage you to like, share, follow, or make a donation as you are inspired. Today, I am making a donation to Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Services, or LIRS. This is the largest faith-based nonprofit dedicated to serving vulnerable immigrants, asylum seekers, and refugees in the U.S. Some of the things that they do as an organization are refugee resettlement since World War II. They've been around for 80 years. Foster care services connecting vulnerable refugee children with safe, loving homes. Family reunification, ensuring migrant children are safely united with their loved ones. Welcoming migrants, offering compassionate services to recently arrived immigrants, and engaging communities, empowering them nationwide to join them in welcoming the stranger. So I'll make a donation to them, and I encourage you to check them out. Do you have a favorite organization that is working to support refugees? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. First book that I want to review, I picked for the History Reading Challenge, which I did after finding the announcement video on Justin at Ghost Reader's channel. I'll link that video down below. It ran from August 16th through the 31st, and the only one prompt that you had to follow was to read a book about history, and then it had several optional prompts. I picked 2, and this was one of them. This was Twisted: The Tangled History of Black Hair Culture by Emma Dabiri. Wow. I listened to this on audio, and then I had to buy the paper version because I needed to mark the really powerful quotes that just really hit me. There are more in here at the beginning that I didn't tab because I didn't have the paper book yet, but this, amazing. Emma Dabiri is a commentator for the BBC, raised in Ireland by her white mother. She shares her experiences of growing up in Ireland as one of the very few Black people that she knew, and no one really knew how to take care of her hair. Beginning with these anecdotes, then she weaves a story that is both personal but then also historical and global. She covers the history of hair from pre-colonial Africa through the Harlem Renaissance, through the 70s, and up to today. She explains and gives examples of how Black hair texture is policed and how hair texture is used as a marker in racist attitudes, and gives examples of where schools and work organizations have discriminated against individuals based on their hairstyle. Those are really powerful stories. She also goes into the really rich history and story of Black hair, including the mathematics of the designs, the messages that are communicated in them, the community networks and support that existed in caring for one another and their Black hair, as well as a really intriguing analysis of capitalism and the way we value time and time that is spent on hair. This book is so good. Based on that description and the scope of what she describes, both historical and the societal commentaries and the racist histories and personal anecdotes, and only being 272 pages, you would think that that would just be too much, or that she wouldn't be able to pull it off, but oh my gosh, does she ever. She blew me away, and I've already ordered her next book. What White People Can Do Next from Allyship to Coalition. So I highly recommend this book, and I would love to know if you have read it. It probably goes without saying that I'm giving this 5 stars. The other book that I read for the History Reading Challenge, I also gave 5 stars too, and that was She Came to Slay: The Life and Times of Harriet Tubman by Erica Armstrong Dunbar. I listened to this one on an audiobook, but I may need to get the paper copy as well, because as I read the reviews about it, I learned that the paper copy also has photos and maps and illustrations, some of which were commissioned for this work, and others are photos that were not previously released. I learned a lot. I was inspired, and I was outraged by yet more examples of the complicity of the people in the South and the North in maintaining the atrocities of slavery. By serendipity, I met with my mentor right after finishing this book, and I just gushed to him about this. Partly, like I mentioned before, like the personal anecdotes, the historical elements, but also where she found her source of strength in terms of her faith in the midst of her suffering, and just the pure determination. Incredible. Definitely recommend this book. At 176 pages, this book is pretty quick to read, and I think it's an important addition to any library that wants to have biographies of people whose stories we need to learn and we need to tell. Okay, the next 3 books I found based off recommendations from other people's channels. I probably got the first 2 books from other people's channel recommendations as well, and I apologize if I don't remember that you're the one who recommended it. So if you were, let me know down below and I'll link your video. The first of the next 3 books I kind of feel bad about. This book is The Sea by Iris Murdoch. This was first published in 1978 and was the winner of the Booker Prize in 1978. Many of you probably can guess which channel I found this recommendation on. If you guessed Bob the Bookerer, that is correct. So Iris Murdoch shares my birthday, actually, though she's a little bit older than me, born in 1919. Bob has a great video where he talks about some of his favorite books, as well as a biography of Iris Murdoch that look really interesting. So I picked the one from that seemed like it would be a good fit with me. I missed one piece where he mentioned that the protagonist was not a likable character, and unfortunately that's what skews this review for me. So this novel is about Charles Arrowby, who was a director and playwright in London, and then he retires to the seaside. He buys a house, decides to write his memoir. He's going to write about his first love, but then he also wants to dabble with this other woman, Lizzie, but then there's this other woman that comes on the scene. I guess I learned a little bit about myself in this, in just that, like, if a character is supremely unlikable, like, it just ruins the book for me, unfortunately. And Charles is an ass. He's arrogant, self-absorbed, deluded, and incredibly misogynistic. He sees himself as a noble artist with this fine taste, and basically is a great gift to the world and a great gift to women. But basically, the way I read this, it was like a thriller written from the stalker's perspective. I think the book is supposed to be like an analysis of the motivations behind the shallowness of fame and that sort of thing, and I probably missed some of the themes. I was tempted to DNF it so many times, and I thought I would feel differently. Iris Murdoch is a great writer, I'll give her that. The first part of the book, I was totally pulled in. I thought I was gonna like it until the first woman showed up on the scene. I don't know if I'm really interested in reading another of Iris Murdoch's books, so I'm sorry, Bob, but I do have other Bob the Booker books on my TBR, so all is not lost. I'm glad I read it. It was a good experience, but I don't need to repeat it. I give this book 3.5 stars. I'd love to know, have you read The Sea? What did you think? Did I miss the boat? Oh, that's bad. Anyway, let's move on. The next book came from a recommendation video from Leanne at Literary Diversions. That is The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. This is a fantasy historical mystery first published in 2017 that is a little over 400 pages long. So at the start of the story, Mary Jekyll is broke after her mom dies, and so then she realizes that she has a clue that could potentially lead her to find Edward Jekyll, who's this murderer and former friend of her father, who is also missing. Hoping for the reward, she decides to pursue this clue. And along the way, she meets Diana, who is Hyde's daughter, who ends up taking her in. And she also meets Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson and collaborates with them on the mystery, so they're working together. She also runs into and joins forces with 3 other women who are also created by scientific meddling fathers who are experimenting on them. And those were Beatrice Rappaccini, Catherine Moreau, and Justine Frankenstein. And they go in pursuit of Mr. Hyde and the secret society of scientists who are doing all of these bad things and pursue justice. I wanted to like this. It's a book about found family, women coming together to fight their oppressors. It sounded so great, and it just didn't work for me. So there was a clever concept in the storytelling of this, where all of those women, including the housekeeper and a serving girl, wind up together in the house, and they're writing the story after everything has happened. So Catherine is writing the story, and then all of the other characters keep interjecting and then wind up telling parts of the story, and through that we're supposed to see their personality. That's why the writer left them in, the writer being Catherine, not the author. I mean, it's an intriguing storytelling technique. It's not new, of the looking back on what happened, let me tell you, we survived, but how did we get there, etc. But it didn't work for me. It just kept pulling me out of the story. And I don't know if it was related, but I just felt like in a lot of that, then by like telling the stories of the different women in the narration style, it just felt like a lot of like telling and rehashing of stories instead of like showing and then being in the story. I don't know if that was it. Also, there was this like romance that was hinted at with Sherlock Holmes that just, the book is a series and maybe it'll go somewhere and maybe this is going to be something that all of you love, but for me, I just was like, that just didn't work for me at all. It just annoyed me, honestly. So Leanne at Literary Diversions loved it. This may be in her top 10, she predicted, of 2021, so you may really enjoy it. I'm not going to read the rest of the series, and I gave it a 3.5 stars. Before I start my next review, I also wanted to mention a really great video by Sajid at Books Are My Social Life, in which they discuss the book, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, specifically on whether or not someone's queer identity is a spoiler. I thought that they had some really interesting thoughts about that, and I wanted to mention it because I think we do need to get past the place where someone's gender identity or sexual orientation is a plot point, is a big reveal, etc. I think we see plenty of times in media where that has been done really poorly and harmfully. I think it is getting a little bit better now, but we have plenty of examples where it's not done well. Also, I can't help but see that translated in real life where like the trans panic defense is still legal in a whole lot of states. And I don't know about internationally, but I'm guessing probably there as well. So I like to get past the idea that someone's trans identity or someone's sexual orientation is any kind of reveal or so forth. So I don't know, let me know your thoughts below in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think about that. The reason I bring it up is because there is a character that has a trans identity in the next book. I had been thinking about, should I mention that in my review or is that a spoiler? And then I ran across Sajid's really great video, and so I wanted to mention that. Okay, the book that I'm referring to was a recommendation from Ivy at Ivy's library card, and that is, I'm gonna have to look at the title. It is The Order of the Pure Moon Reflected in Water by Zen Cho. This is a novella. It's a queer fantasy published in 2020. It's 176 pages. It's a really quick read and I definitely enjoyed it. This is the story of a group of bandits who do like black market retrieval jobs in the midst of this country that's war-torn between the protectorate and the reformers, and there's a lot of looting and ransacking and burning down of religious institutions. There's a lot of stuff going on. The book starts out at a coffee shop where a former nun is working as a waitress. A customer harasses her, the bandits jump in and defend her, a brawl ensues, they have to take off. She loses her job and she actually follows the bandits and says, hey, I want to join you. So the bandits let her join. They don't tell her, but they're transporting some secret black market goods. So the story unfolds where she gets involved in the transporting and the handling and the adventure that ensues because of these black market products and all of the fights and so forth that happen after that. Although I say fights, it's not super fight heavy. It's definitely more of a character book. There's also queer rep in the story, and I really like the trans character and how the trans reveal is done. I highly recommend it. When I read that, I was like, yes, that's how I like trans rep to be done. I loved the world building. I loved the exploration of faith and calling and identity. I loved the camaraderie of the bandits, but also then like the conflict within the group, as well as questions about where they were going to go on their journey and how that was handled from a power perspective. The fantasy element was well done, the magic was really interesting, and there's a romance piece in there as well that's really a light touch on the romance, but also I thought very well done. I really enjoyed this book. I'm glad I read it. I give it 4.5 stars. I probably would have given it 5 if it were a full-length novel, because there was stuff at the end that I just wish had been a little bit more fully developed that you just can't in the space of a novella. But 4.5 stars, I definitely recommend. And I'm looking forward to reading other works by her as well. The next work that I read was basically because I made a joke in a comment on someone's YouTube channel where I said I should rewrite the draft of my novel as a murder mystery a la Waiting for Godot. And then I realized I've never read or seen Waiting for Godot, so I only vaguely knew what I was referring to. I saw that it was a pretty short book and the library had the audiobook available, so I checked it out and read it, and I'm really glad I did. The nice part about listening to it on audiobook was that the performers were really good, and I think really added a lot to the performance of it. I can definitely see why this is a play that many of the great artists have wanted to perform in. It opened in French in 1953 and then in English in 1955. So Waiting for Godot is about 2 men. There is Vladimir, whose nickname is Didi, and Estragon, whose nickname is Gogo, and they're waiting for Godot, who maybe is going to, I think, offer them some sort of job. So they wait by this tree to pass the time. They meet some other characters while they're waiting. There's 1 or maybe 2 that are this messenger. Then there are these other 2, Lucky and Pazzo, who come along and have a whole other interesting dynamic. One thing I didn't like about the play was how Pazzo's blindness was handled in Act 2. So from what I was reading, apparently the play is about man's search for meaning and the existential angst after World War II. And that's probably what it's about, because that's what lots of people say. But I couldn't help it, and I heard it as a queer marriage story about an old married couple, Didi and Gogo, who've been together. I mean, the characters have been together for 50 years. They talk about how they've been together. They think about leaving one another, but they wind up back together again, and they just are happier together, even though they complain to each other. They laugh at each other's foibles, but they also care for one another. I couldn't read it any other way. I'm sorry, that's just how it struck me. So please let me know. Have you read or seen Waiting for Godot, and did you just see like an old queer married couple and their love story? Anyway, I'm glad that I made that comment and then decided to read this, and I'm going to give it 4 stars. So there you go. The next book I read was on my 21 to read in 2021 list, and that was Murder Knocks Twice by Susanna Calkins. This is a cozy mystery set in 1920s Chicago where Gina Ricci gets a job selling cigarettes at a speakeasy called The Third Door. She's replacing the woman before her who was murdered, but no one will tell her what happened to her or anything about her. There's also this mysterious photographer who it turns out is related to her, but he also won't really talk to her, but he's definitely not happy about her working there. Marty, the photographer, winds up dead. She finds him as he's dying, and he gives her his camera and tells her to hide it. Then she decides to solve the murder mystery of both Marty and Dora and figure out what's going on, as well as to figure out like what is the connection between the families. Why does she not know who Marty is, and so forth. This is a good mystery, decent characters and plotting, little hint of a romance that will probably play out as the series grows. The conclusion was satisfying. I didn't love it, but I did enjoy it, so I will give it 3.5 stars. The last 4 books that I read in August, as I mentioned, are in previous videos, and so I'll just link those down below. The first was Child 44, in which I did a reading vlog where I ran away to nature and read this book. The last 3 books from August are all reviewed on my August Shoutout Queer Book Review video, which I'll link down below. That is Camp by Lev A.C. Rosen, Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde, and Fierce Femmes and Notorious Liars, A Dangerous Trans Girl's Confabulous Memoir by Kai Cheng Tong. So I recommend that you check out that video if those sound interesting to you, and stay tuned because upcoming this month I will have my September shout out queer book review video as well. Well, that's everything. Thanks for watching. I hope that you found something interesting to maybe put onto your TBR. What did you read in August? I'm definitely looking forward to my September reading and have a pile of possibilities, shall we say. As always, I'd love to continue the conversation in the comments below. Please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, all the things. And until next time, happy reading.